Hi there. My name is Brittany, and I am here with Daisy from Homeschooling with Intention. We decided today that we were going to do a collaboration video and kind of talk about our shared experiences of homeschooling. Uh, Me as a first generation homeschooler, her as a second generation homeschooler, me with having homeschooled for a while, and her kind of new homeschooling. And so that's kind of what we're doing here today, is just having a chat. So, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so like she said, I'm kind of a second generation, not kind of, I am a second generation homeschooler from, first grade through high school. Amazingly, my mom did it. I had lots of siblings, and all of my friends were homeschooled. My husband was homeschooled, so I feel like I really have been surrounded in the homeschool like world. But as Brittany said, I also am newer to the teaching of homeschool. So while I feel really confident in some things, I maybe shouldn't because I haven't actually been doing it that long. We started 3 years ago when my first was like 3.5 with really gentle preschool. So that's kind of where we're at. And now my oldest is in first grade and I have a kindergartner and then a toddler. So that's kind of where I come from.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the same way with started with my older kids. It was a little bit later whenever I pulled my oldest, but then for my youngest, it's like, okay, we're three and we're just kind of going to get started. So I will give more of a full introduction for myself. We have been homeschooling, like I said, for almost 10 years. This is our ninth year. I have four kids, and they are 11th grade, fourth grade, second grade, and kindergarten. And so we have been homeschooling since my oldest was in second grade. We pulled him out because of issues that we had with the public school system. I was public schooled myself, and so I had just assumed that I was going to send all of my kids to public school. I had never been around any kids who were homeschooled, actually. I had one friend. I had one friend who homeschooled her kids, and I'm like, man, I have such mad respect for her because I personally couldn't do that. And then whenever he started having all of these issues, I was already staying home with our second child. And so I'm like, I'll just pull him out and we'll just start homeschooling. And then we've been doing it ever since then. But that was a whole new experience. So the whole thing of homeschooling, homemaking. My mom was a working mom, and we were just normal dual income family. And so this is a whole new journey for me, really.
So we definitely come at it from very different backgrounds.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We were I growing up, we were not Christians. My family was we went to church, you know, occasionally just whenever friends would invite us, but we were not at all raised in the faith. And so I came to faith much later in life, and then we have just yeah, it's very different, but it's been very beautiful. God
Mm-hmm.
redeems so much. So
Yeah, I feel like we were raised in the faith, and we were raised at like a home fellowship, so very like conservative homeschooly jean skirts. Like that was
oh
my.
wow.
I see the cliches, and I'm like, oh yeah, I lived those cliches for a very long time, and not in a bad way. We grew and developed, and I don't feel harmed for it. But it's funny sometimes looking back and going, oh yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
know what that feels like and is like. So it's interesting when I like listen to your videos because I feel like sometimes you say things I want to say or that I like totally agree with. So it's interesting coming
Yeah.
from such different perspectives that I feel like you
Oh,
still take the words out of my mouth sometimes in regarding to some of our views on homeschooling.
yeah. But honestly, that's the experience that I typically have, especially with fellow believers too, because it feels like that I connect more with women, especially like-minded women in general, but like-minded women of the faith. There's just like a connection. It's like we just kind of tend to think, on the same wavelength. But
Yeah.
even with homeschooling too,
We have some
so.
similar grounding, similar things you're coming from when you get your ideas, which certainly helps.
Right, right. The question that I would have for somebody who is a second generation homeschooler is, what was your favorite part about being homeschooled?
Oh, see, that's kind of hard. I think maybe, and this, yeah, I think maybe one of it was being able to be super diligent and
Yeah.
excel or finish early or accomplish because I was a little bit of a go-getter. Or I knew that if I could complete something, I could be done, I could move on, I could have flexibility. And I think the flexibility was something as a kid that I really liked, to be able to be like, I want to do 2 days of work today so that I can go do this cool activity with my friend, right? Like that was something that was very motivating to me as a kid. I don't know if it's like the thing that I take away and go like, oh, this is what I appreciate most from homeschooling as an adult, but as a kid, that would have been one of them, that I could be diligent and be done and do
Mm-hmm.
extra and have free time.
Yeah. I could see that as somebody who was in the public school, and we were all day schooling all day. That would be, and I'd envy that of being able to just get it done, because that was me. I would have rather just been able to get it all done and then go read the rest of the day. That sounds
Read, yes,
like me.
definitely. Although my mom did have to manage that. Like there was limits on how much we could do in advance. Like we weren't allowed to do the week and then have a whole week free, because that would
Right.
help. But if there was a reason to be done, it like, oh yeah, you want to go do this thing, okay, you can like. She managed it, but yeah, that was cool.
That makes sense.
As somebody who hasn't homeschooled before, or not hasn't homeschooled but came into it kind of from the public school, just not knowing what you were doing, what was the biggest surprise, either good or bad, like something you didn't expect that was better than you thought or harder than you thought?
I would say it would be better than I thought, because I thought that it was going to be hard. I was surprised at how hard it was. um, but really, it was how much I was going to grow through the process, and that I learned so much about myself. And so the surprising thing was how much less patient I was. I thought that I was a pretty patient person. It taught me so much about parenting and about my own limits and how to grow past my own limits. And then also just the connection that my kids were going to have. Because I remember whenever I was in school, we would all go to different schools. And even if we were in the same school, we were in different grades. And so we were separated most of the time. I wasn't close to my sisters until we were adults and we had more things in common. And then my kids, I have a almost 17-year-old, and his next sibling is 9. But even then, they're still extremely close. And I feel like if they were in school, there would have been just this giant separation because they would never see each other.
Mm-hmm.
So the closeness of the siblings was a really pleasant surprise that I got to experience.
Well, the unintended benefits, that wasn't why you were homeschooling, but you're like, oh, this is
No.
great.
Yeah, no, it wasn't even on my radar whenever I was homeschooling. Actually, I was thinking more that sounds like it's going to be really hard and really exhausting to have all of the kids all together.
And it
all
is
the time.
some days.
And it is, absolutely. But it's just such a beautiful added benefit.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
And so,
what would you say is your favorite thing to teach? Just curious.
oh,
Your favorite subject to teach?
hands down, history.
Yeah.
My poor kids, or Bible, probably.
They go together really
they're
well.
right. Huh?
They go together really well too, those two.
They do. They tie really together really well. That's probably what we spend most of our time, is that we're always going over on time in Bible and in history. And so my biggest struggle is that I want to do everything with history. I want to do all of the read alouds, plus the reading, plus some videos, plus like a timeline song. And it's like, okay, they're still kids. We can't do all of the things.
That's something we all struggle. Well, maybe not all of us, but I definitely struggle with
I think
wanting.
Wanting to do everything, and especially when it comes to like your favorite subjects.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite subject to teach?
I realized you were going to ask me that in the return, and then I started thinking, and I'm not sure I know.
Oh.
I would say that some are really rewarding, but I don't know that, like, reading has been really rewarding to teach my kid, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite thing to teach. And I think I will really enjoy like teaching history and stuff as my kids get older. We're still on so much at the beginning that it's just,
right.
We're just like touching the surface, and what they remember, I have enjoyed doing like quiet time and Bible with the kids. That's been more enjoyable than I thought. And I'm starting to learn to enjoy reading aloud to them, which has not been an innate skill that I've loved, but I'm starting to enjoy it. And maybe because they're enjoying books that are a little bit more intelligent than they used to. So I can enjoy the stories too.
Yeah, that is fun. I don't think I asked you, because you asked me, what was one thing that
Mm.
surprised you? I'm curious from having the other side of it, maybe something that surprised you now that you are homeschooling yourself.
I think when I actually sat down, I'm like, oh, we're getting ready to, start homeschooling. I think I was surprised by how much was out there and how much I had to sift through to know what I wanted to do. And that's kind of a weird one. But
Yeah.
when I sat down, I was like, oh my goodness, there is so much. How am I ever going to decide what I want to use? And I know you don't have to like decide a style, but like, I just like, it felt like deer in the headlights to me a little bit of like, which kind of
Mhm.
surprised me because I felt like it was a comfortable area. I was like, oh, well, just, you just do it, which is
Mhm.
not exactly
Right.
how it goes. Um,
No, that's valid
but
though.
I agree also that one thing, and I wouldn't say exclusively to homeschool, but as a parenting with young children, I think they kind of go hand
Yeah.
is the patience level that's
This is,
required. It's just
yeah.
insane. And how some of the things that I struggle most with my kids in are the things that I actually struggle with myself. Those traits coming out in them, how much that irritates me.
Mhm. Yeah, I had a friend tell me one time, a long time ago, that the child that you are most similar to is typically the one that you're going to
Which
butt
seems
heads with
so
the most.
counterintuitive to me, but it's absolutely
Right?
true for
It's
me.
like
The
I
one who's like my
get you.
husband, I'm like, oh, we get along great. The one who's like me, I'm like,
Yes. Yep. The kids I have a couple of kids that are like copy and paste with me, and those are the ones that were always, it's like a refining that's happening. And then my kids that are a lot like my husband, it's like those are my easier kids. And so,
do you wonder
you
if our
know,
husbands have the same kind of experience on the other side or not? Or
that's
did
a
we just
question
marry
I'm going
really
to ask
nice
him
people
tonight.
and we're like, really? Because I know
Yeah.
he's a much more easygoing person than I am as a rule. And so I would
Yeah.
expect that to some extent just personality wise, but I wonder, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I need to ask him that question now. That's going to be when he gets home.
I think it
Um,
also surprised me how much I enjoy homeschooling actually. Like it was something I always knew I wanted to do. Like this was just what we're going to do. It's the best thing, but I think it surprised me that I actually like if I don't want to say it feels like a hobby because I take it more seriously than I take a
yeah.
hobby, but I actually when we're not butting heads, I really enjoy it.
Yeah. I would say I would second that. That I thought that I would hate homeschooling, and I would say probably the first year it felt very overwhelming. I was also coming from a situation where I wasn't home with my kids all the time, so it wasn't like a natural transition.
Yeah.
But I was very surprised at how much I did end up enjoying it, and now it's something I'm super passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was really surprising too for me. Okay, so now you and I have asked our questions. And so now I am curious if you are watching this conversation, if you have any questions for Daisy and I. We are hoping to do this again if it seems like it's something that y'all enjoy. So leave it in the comments if you have a question that you would want us to answer, and maybe we can come back and answer it for you. Moving on to wins and challenges. So let's start with a recent one. So, what is a recent win or challenge that you've had in your homeschool?
I think a recent win would be with my younger daughter. So my kindergartner, we've been teaching to read, and she really wants to read, even though she's young. I have no problem teaching young kids to read. I try not to push beyond their abilities, but we work,
Mhm.
within those, and then starting young just gets you that much further ahead. But I think recently I found a resource that really has helped with the speed of reading, not coming out of the phonics area of it, but like, kids like every word for a long time is at, and then they blend it after
Right.
that, and then at, and it's like
Oh,
takes
geez.
5 minutes to read like this one sentence just because they have to sound. And I was trying to figure out how to help her like see the word and be able to put the sounds together without having to like audibly sound them out.
Mm.
And I think in this last month, she's come so far. I had her pick up a story that was all, CVC words, very basic, but she could read the whole thing and she only had to sound out like two of them. And I was like, oh, we've come somewhere, which is funny what the little challenges feel so big, right? But
Right.
that's been wonderful because and I'm seeing that maybe she's ready to start progressing now that we've kind of hit that hurdle. But it's a win for her because I feel like, oh, we're getting somewhere, but it's a win for me because it's been so tedious listening to her read just the practice.
Yeah. Yeah, and that especially with reading, whenever they hit that, especially moving past the sounding out, it does feel, momentous because it's like, okay, we can finally move on.
We can go.
It's very exciting. Yeah, we got that to that point last year with my kindergartner. Whenever she was at that point of like starting to actually say the three-letter words without having to sound it out so heavily. And she's my last one, so it's like, yay!
Are you sad that she's your last one, or is it kind of like, oh, we're done with that?
Oh, it's it depends on the day.
Yes,
It's a bittersweet thing with having four kids, and then my husband has a son from his first marriage, and so we have five total, and so it is kind of at this point that I'm excited to move into our next chapter because I really do love like the kids stage. It's so much fun. I love babies and stuff like that, and the whole process of teaching them the firsts and the learning the letters and all of those exciting first things. But moving into the kids stage, it's just so much fun. And I've never been the kind that looks back and, oh, I just wish it was, I wish I could go back. I'm just excited for new phases and new stages. And so everything's exciting.
That's good. That's good. What about you? What's one of your recent wins that you feel like you've had in your homeschool?
Okay, so my most recent win is probably with my fourth grader. We have had this point. I'm about to put my term two update on, and I was actually just talking about it. We have had this struggle with math. And I think it's this transition from third grade to fourth grade. I think it kind of starts near the end of second, where they're really learning a lot of multiplication. And then they start learning longer multiplication and division. And long division is so hard to learn and so hard to teach. And so he was just getting, it was getting so frustrating for him. And so it hit a lot of points where he was kind of dawdling and dragging his feet with it because he just didn't want to be there, which I understand. It's frustrating, but it finally clicked.
Oh, yay.
And so now we're at that point that he's got his multiplication facts down and he's getting his division facts down pretty well. And so math is moving easier. And so now it's at the point that I can say, okay, we're going to set our timer and we're going to do our math block. And he gets it done in the time.
Oh, that's so
and that
nice.
just feels like it's such a huge win because I hated how I've been handling it is that if we don't finish our math, our practice work in the block, you're going to have to just take it into after school. If it's because he's dragging his feet, if it's a genuine, he's been trying, but if it's not trying, and you can typically tell, then I make him take it into his playtime. And I hate doing that because I want them to have plenty of time to get energy out and be kids, but he has to get it done also. So now that we're moving past that point, it's just we're less fights, and so it's nice.
Yeah, and frees your relationship up to like not feel like you're constantly pushing him. Not that it's bad to push a child. Sometimes they need a little push, because I feel like homeschooling is equally character training.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's nice for you to feel like, oh, I don't have to do that.
Yeah, because it can be really hard on your relationship whenever you're having to constantly redirect and redirect and redirect. And so when you're playing both mom and teacher.
And it takes that much more from you, from your other kids. Because I don't know, when I'm dealing with a problem with a kid, I'm so much more frazzled for the rest of my kids. Like half of my brain is always watching that. And I'm already frustrated with that. And so now that kind of carries into the child who's not being frustrating, right?
Absolutely. And then the other kids are not getting as much attention, so they're acting out because they need attention from mom. And so they're like, if I have to get the bad attention, I'll get the bad attention. And so it's just much more peaceful home.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
So now the biggest that you can think of, I mean, it doesn't have to be like the biggest ever, just that you can think of a big win or challenge. And especially if it was a challenge, how were you able to overcome it? That's a loaded question.
The one that comes to mind is one I've already shared on, but it probably still is the one that I think of when I think of like our biggest win and challenge. And like I said, my oldest is only in first grade, so we haven't hit some of the more difficult areas. But it was over. So my older daughter is really advanced for her age. She's always been about a grade ahead in the work she actually does. So she's in first grade, but she's doing
Mm-hmm.
half of like second grade work. So last year in kindergarten, she finished first grade math, and she understood everything really well, but her math facts weren't memorized, right? Which
Yeah,
I know some people don't think you need to memorize those. I feel like it's just so much easier in the higher you go if you don't have to think about each problem each step of the way,
100%.
right? And so I made her do flashcards over the summer to do her math facts. And she's not like a fighter or a stubborn kid. So I say she cooperated, but she definitely didn't like them. And we did have a few breakdowns over a few problems. And if I asked her, what do you think of this? She's like, oh, my worst thing is the flashcards. Worst thing. But then when we picked up school this summer, I guess we started in the summer, and she did her first like week of second grade math, and she came to me just beaming. She's like, Mom, I could do all of the addition problems because I did my flashcards. And it was like, it was a win on not just the level of math, but on the level of like her making a connection that hard work had paid off. Was
Yes.
like, oh, I didn't expect that. I expected to have to point out to you that look at how much progress you made and the fact that she did all that herself. And then when I asked her later, should we keep doing them? She was like, well, maybe.
I mean, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. But I think the win for me was just her understanding the concept behind it, because I think that's as valuable as her knowing the math facts, honestly.
Those math facts. Yeah, they're so important. It's highly underrated.
Mm-hmm.
But there is that whenever they make that connection, and it's so funny to me because having a teenager, it happens fairly frequently where you start to learn with teens that you have to just put the wisdom out there and be like, do we think this is a wise decision? And typically they're gonna be like, oh yeah, no, it's fine, Mom, it's fine, it's fine. So, oh, okay, all right. And then eventually, they come back, well, you were kind of right.
But better than them learning that, right? Because they remember it, and then versus you being like, oh, you see how right I was?
Yes. Yeah. And the whole thing is like, it's so hard not to wave the I told you so card. But if you don't do that, eventually they do like start to pick up, oh yeah, maybe Mom kind of knows what she's talking
It's a
about.
level of trust.
And yes, eventually, whenever they start consistently seeing that you made a suggestion and then your suggestion was right, and then you don't rub their faces in it, they end up trusting you more, and they're more willing to listen. So that's that. See, parenting, homeschooling is just parenting.
It's just an add-on. Really, yes.
Really,
what about you? What is one of your larger challenges or wins?
So my largest challenge, I would probably say, would be with my oldest, and it would probably be his spelling if we're going to go strictly homeschool. So character wise, there are so many things that I could talk about, but if we're going to talk about specifically homeschool related, that was probably something that kept me up at night for so many years was the spelling side for my oldest. But he has dyslexia, and so it was always something that was a struggle, and I fretted over it for so many years because we tried all of the spelling curriculum and just nothing would click for some reason. But then I saw something, I think it was from the Well-Trained Mind, where they were talking about typing and turning off spell check. And somebody had said, maybe it was in a forum, I don't remember, but they had said if you turned off the spell check and you had them type out papers, their written narrations and things like that, then for some reason it can help with kids who struggle with writing. And so I started having him do that, and then he would send them to me, and I would have spell check on my computer, and then I would go over it with him, the areas that he spelled incorrectly. But it forced him to spell them and see it in front of him. And for some reason, it just worked. And then I turned spell check back on.
I could see that because we do become so dependent on things without realizing it, that it's easy to become lazy. No, even if you're trying, but it'll catch it for you. That's awesome. That's a great,
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if it was once we turned spell check back on his computer, it helped catch the other errors, and all of a sudden it just translated into great spelling. And he doesn't just use the computer; he handwrites stuff out, and he'll handwrite some written narrations for me, and his spelling is still great.
It
And
clicked. It
so
stayed. Whatever he had to figure out stayed in his brain.
yeah. And so I don't know if it was just needing more time or if that trick worked.
I'm gonna have to keep that in my back pocket if I ever need that.
I know. And so that's what I'm with my boys tend to struggle more with spelling from what I've understood. I mean, girls can too. So far my girls have just naturally been good spellers, so I don't know if it's just them as people or if it's just a girl versus boy thing. Mm-hmm. But I know that statistically boys tend to struggle more with spelling. And my 9-year-old's having those same issues, so that's kind of like how I'm taking it with him too.
Like, okay, well, we've done this once. By the way, have you seen this mug? This is like, I don't know if you can read it, but this is like my all-time, every mom needs this mug.
Yes, I need that mug. I need that mug in my life. It really is.
It's so accurate.
I love that.
We were on a date, and I was like, really I have to have that, Ryan. I need it.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I look pretty okay and the kids look pretty okay. So what does that tell you?
You're going out.
Yeah. I know that's the beauty of filming is I can shove.
I do. I've got boxes of apples on my table that I'm waiting to make applesauce out of. And yeah.
I tell the kids, I'm like, if you can just like put it on the couch.
Yep, out of sight.
You know, we'll deal with it after.
Which is why social media is not a good representation of what you should look like.
Exactly. We do a home blessing at, that might actually be one of the questions I was going to do, but we do a home blessing at 4:30 when my husband calls and says he's coming home from work. And so everybody's like, okay, it's home blessing time. That means everybody needs to pick up. I'm going to vacuum, run the Swiffer, go check your bedrooms, check your zones to make sure everything's picked up. But otherwise, I'm like, if you run into my house at 1:00 in the afternoon, I can't make promises. You know what you're getting into.
It's life. It's just real life.
So, okay, so let's do some fun questions. So, what are your kids' favorite subjects?
My youngest is handwriting. Don't ask me how, but that's actually we got recently a more fun one. It's got some like logic puzzles and coloring in it, and so like that's made it really cool for her. So she really likes that. And my oldest, I don't know if it's a subject anymore, but she loves to read. Like she's kind of graduated out of phonics. She reads out loud to me now, but like reading, she's going to be another bookworm like me. So that makes me really like warms my heart. I'm like handing her all these books I read as a kid. I'm like, oh, the circle starts again.
Right.
What about your kids? And you have several, so.
I got several in there. So my oldest, he is a history buff. He loves history, which is so funny because he hated history for a long time. And I kept on telling him, I'm like, history is just people's stories and God working through time and space. Like, it's so cool. And so when he finally realized that, he was like, hey, history is pretty fun. And now it's his favorite. He just reads history books just for fun. My second son, his favorite is probably science he's my math and science kid. He started liking Latin now that we started Latin.
We're going to be doing Latin, I've decided, by the way, finally. I've been debating, exciting. And I've finally decided yes. So keep going.
That's exciting. Math was his favorite for a really long time, and then it got hard, and so it stopped being his favorite. And science, he's always loved science. Now it's kind of competing again, now that math is clicking a little bit again. And so he's math and science. My oldest daughter is the same way with reading. She loves reading. She also really loves Latin, but she loves to read. And so I do count it as a subject, by the way. I think there's so much value in just having them read a bunch of good books. And then my youngest, hers is probably really just learning to read. She is really enjoying learning to read, and the fact that she can now keep up with her siblings in the reading. Well, not keep up, but she can read her own books too.
She's a big person now.
Yes, she feels like she's one of the big kids
Yes.
now.
I would say, hearing you say Latin, I would say my kids also really, really enjoy the foreign language we're incorporating. That's fun for them.
Yeah, kids love
It's
languages.
like a
They just
secret
think they're
code,
fun.
you know?
No, that was one of my second son was saying everybody in our area speaks Spanish. He's like, we're going to be the family that speaks Latin. I'm like, well, we're not going to be like fluent in Latin, but
But, you know, if they practice enough.
I mean, it's true. So
Okay, so what is your morning routine look like? Like, how early do you get up, and are you a morning person or are you not?
okay, so I am a morning person, but not as early as I've been getting up. Normally, whenever I would get up on my own, it was 6:30, 7 o'clock, and now I get up at 5:30. I've been trying to push myself to get up at 5, but really that's the only way I can get anything done. And so, my morning routine, I'm working into it. It typically looks like I get up, I have a cup of coffee, I pray a little bit, I do a devotional, and then I work for about an hour. And then I've been starting to work out after that. I wake the kids up. I have breakfast. I'm trying to get to the point that I have breakfast pre-made, because that's where it gets me like off track, is between breakfast and lunches. And so I'm trying to have pre-made breakfast so that way I can have breakfast already ready to go, and getting the kids up by 7. And then I'm doing a workout, which I'm trying to do better at because I have a terrible back. And then I normally do my Bible on audio while I'm getting ready and stuff like that. And then we'll do breakfast and devotions. And so that's my morning routine. So what's yours?
I am not a morning person. Gosh, it kills me. I do it solely for my children because we got to get homeschooling done before we start late in the day. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But right now my alarm goes off at like 10 to 6 and I snooze it at least 3 times before I get out of bed.
Hey, that was me for a really long time.
It's
so
bad,
there you go.
but I do. So I end up getting up around 6 o'clock. I generally try to get myself somewhat presentable, because if I don't do it at that point, then it just doesn't happen. And if I do, it helps my day so much, helps me feel like a person. Yeah. So even like 5-10 minutes to get my hair from being a mess. And then I normally go out onto the couch and have like a little bit of a Bible time, a little bit of prayer time with my husband. Not with him. We both do ours own individually, but he does his before he leaves for work. So I normally sit down and do mine at the same time. Yeah. I get to see him for like 15 minutes before he leaves for work. And honestly, if he didn't leave for work at like 6:30, there's no way I would be up this early. It's another additional motivation on top of like, yeah, we need to get our day going, but then I at least like get to say hi before he leaves. And then generally I try to make breakfast before the kids get up, and then they get up at 7. So we they eat breakfast, do some chores, and then we jump into like our family devotions. But I hear you say you have a bad back, and it's just like I totally have a terrible back after pregnancies. It murdered my back, and I know I need to do exercise, and it's like my Achilles heel. I am so bad at being consistent with any form of exercise, and I'm
same.
I need something, but I don't know what.
If it makes you feel any better, I just started that this week. So it's not like I'm like, oh, I get up and work out at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's like, no, I actually just started.
Well, I'm rooting for you, because I've been thinking like this last couple of weeks. I've been like, oh, I really do need to.
Yes, I have. After having like my 4 pregnancies, I have my back and my hips are just really all out of whack. And so I was actually at the cardiologist and talking about like heart palpitations and stuff like that. And he went and he did we did the stress test and everything. And he's like, your heart looks great. It's just, you're really out of shape. I'm like, okay,
fine.
He's just a little bit of exercise. And so, okay, 4 kids in homeschool.
I would get the same evaluation. I know.
So, okay. Before we close out, what is one piece of advice that you would give to a new homeschooler?
This piece might sound kind of funny from somebody who loves so much to mix and match curriculums and is like eclectic in that, like, I like doing what I want to do. But I think if somebody was really brand new to homeschooling, especially if they hadn't been homeschooled themselves, I would say go for a all-in-one curriculum the first year.
Yeah.
Get a boxed curriculum and just do it and find out what you like without the pressure of worrying if you're going to miss things or let things fall through the crack, or if you're not, because I feel like that's one of the biggest stresses is your like transition from not to homeschooling is like, am I sufficient? Do I know what I'm doing? Are we going to ruin my kids? So something that covers all the bases and you don't have to stress on that. And then as you do it, you'll be like, oh, I hate this about this curriculum, or oh, I love this. And then transition into what you like. But like just do something that just tells you what to do. And make sure you don't miss any cracks so that the stress of all of that isn't on your shoulders. And then as you get comfortable, then get your feet in the water. That's what I would probably say.
I think that's such a good idea, because for me, whenever I first started, I did mix and match a lot of stuff, and I didn't realize how many, especially things like language arts, how many components there are to it. And so for the longest time with my oldest, we were just doing like grammar. And we didn't do any writing for many years because I didn't even know that that wasn't something I was supposed to, that was something I was supposed to be including. So having something kind of guide you and show you what you need to do, I think that's a really good idea if you have no experience homeschooling.
Yeah, and not to feel stuck there. Like feel like take notes on what you like, what you don't, but just make it easier on yourself to begin with.
Yeah. And understanding that you're going to hate something. Like realizing that you're going to go into it and you're probably not going to like something, and that you can address it the next year.
But honestly, even if you picked it all yourself, you probably wouldn't like something anyway, because you've never done it before. Like there are things I was like, oh yeah, I hated that. So what would be a piece of advice you give somebody new?
Don't get too caught up in like the learning styles and having to assign out your specific teaching style. Like whenever you get into, especially when you start joining the Facebook groups, you start hearing all of the jargon of we're classical homeschoolers, we're traditional homeschoolers, we're Charlotte Mason, my kid's a kinesthetic learner, my kid's an more audio. And, you know, the thing is that the education that you're going to give your kids is going to be very unique, and it doesn't have to fit into a specific mold, and your kid is going to be different, and each kid is going to be different. And so what works for one kid may not work for the next kid, and being willing to be adaptable as they are showing their differences. And that is something that I continually fall into, is I just want to hit copy and paste whenever it comes to curriculum sometimes, because I'm tired and I just want to say, okay, well, we're going to just all do this, or we're all going to do it in this way. And my husband was telling me, he's very wise, and he was telling me last year when I'm like, we're going to do full classical, he's like, okay, but remember that they are people too. And if, you know, especially your boys who like to go outside and be outside, if they don't want to sit and, you know, spout Shakespeare all day, then that's okay too. And so, you know, being willing to be changeable and not be in a box, but also not feeling like you should change all the time. That doesn't make any sense.
No, it does. I think, honestly, this is a shameless plug for the last collaboration we did about goals, because I think it ties in. I think you need to know what you want out of your homeschool.
Right.
And I think sometimes the styles, like delving into those, you get a little bit of an idea of like, oh, this was a goal of this style, without being labeled like I have to use everything this style. Right? Like I can like some of the goals of Charlotte Mason without feeling like I have to use all Charlotte Mason curriculum.
Right.
I love a lot of the classical, not so much neoclassical, but like Hellenistic, old classical goals and ideas. But that doesn't mean I can't use something totally textbook,
right,
to get to some of these other goals. So I think, yeah, it does make sense. Like I think it can be helpful in some ways just because it filters out some of there's so much out there and you can filter it out. But the styles are just names for goals that people have. Honestly, I think a lot of that is. And I would say also on that, like be super leery on Facebook and feeling like you have to agree with everybody and meet everybody's expectations. And I understand if somebody doesn't have like community at all, or any other homeschoolers inputting, how like they might need to reach out online. But I would say it's I don't know how healthy of an environment that is to learn what you want to learn for Facebook or for homeschooling. So I would say just be really careful and don't let yourself get beat up by people's varying opinions.
Yes. Facebook groups as a general rule can be helpful, but it's not like you were saying, it's not the healthiest environment to learn.
Yeah, I would say
And so
come with specific questions. Like, I want
yeah,
a resource for this. Like, that's useful. But just overall open ended is going to just get you everybody's opinion. You're going to feel a little bit like you're doing it wrong from everybody's eyes because nobody agrees. So,
absolutely. You gave two great
sorry,
pieces of
it's
advice.
terrible. I know you didn't
There you
ask me for a
go.
second when it just came as you were
Oh,
saying that. I was like,
hey.
oh.
Yes, that's great. That's great though. All right. Well, I think it's been almost an hour, so we probably need to wrap it up. And so, um, do you have any last closing remarks that you want to make to
No, I mean,
those
I've
who
really
may?
enjoyed it. I think it's been fun,
Yeah.
not just from an aspect of talking, but I've actually really enjoyed talking to you and hearing your side of it, and just throwing
Yeah.
things back and forth has been enjoyable for me. So thanks.
Same. This has been, I have really enjoyed our conversation. I would love to do this again. So if you would love to hear Daisy and I have another conversation, or if you have something specific that you would love to hear both perspectives on, leave it in the comments because we would love to sit and talk to you and talk to each other. So if you are new to Daisy or I invite you to go check out our channels if you need any more homeschooling encouragement or advice. And I guess we will all see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.